We're back here, the whole 9 yards, on a what even is today? I don't know. Wednesday afternoon. Brandon, it's been a long time, a few months. It feels almost like weird to be back. I guess we got new microphones as well. If people can't tell yet, but Brandon, how's it going?
It's good, you know. I don't know. I mean, nothing. Nothing's really changed since last time we saw. Since last time we had an episode. So yeah, kind of ready to go.
Yeah, Brandon ended up looking at my. Brandon came over yesterday and looked at my dorm, my suite. Gave him a tour.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nate.
Tours.
Shout out to Nate Panieri if you're watching this. But only a couple things really happened. Some Ben Simmons stuff, and I'm starting to having to get reused to cutting back and forth. So if I'm a little bit late on that, I'm sorry. But a couple things happened. Cam got released. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons, I guess it's technically official now that he's like done. I mean, I think there was maybe like a small chance of him coming back. It seems like that's now just not a thing, essentially, even though, I mean, most people knew that he was gone. I still kind of thought there was maybe a chance he wasn't, but it seems like that's official, so that's that. And then we're going to do the AFC over-unders for wins. We did the NFC last episode. If you didn't see that, feel free to check that out after this episode. So we'll start with Cam, I guess, just because that's kind of like the recent news, I guess. But Cam did get cut, and to my knowledge, he was not given the opportunity to decide, like, to make the choice on whether or not he was willing to back up. It was just like, Mac's a starter. We don't want Cam as a backup. Cam's cut. To me, I'm actually happy with it. I was never a big Cam person. I had high hopes like going into last year just because it's Cam, it's Belichick. This is like the first time Belichick has had a quarterback that's not Brady like officially since, like back in the Cleveland Brown days or whatever. But I'm happy about it. To me, it shows that Mac is ready for the starting job. If Cam was going into week 1 as a starter, then he would have been starting for probably week 1, 2, 3, 4 at least. I don't think you like start Cam week 1 and then take him out after a half of football. At least that's not what the Patriots would do, I don't think. So to see Cam gone, I think is overall good for Max. It shows that Mac has been better than people thought he was going to be, even considering that people thought he was like a ready-to-go quarterback. So I'm happy about it. I mean, what's your reaction?
Yeah, we kind of talked about it yesterday when I saw you, but yeah, I would say like Cam, I think it was going to happen no matter what, that he was going to get replaced, like you said. Even though if he were to be the starter at the beginning of the season, he would get replaced, most likely at some point, probably in the middle of the season, unless they were amazing. But even then, I'd be surprised. He just obviously isn't that, he showed what he was last year, and he only had 8 touchdowns and however many picks, the completion percentage, everything. So it was probably going to happen no matter what. But the fact that he beat him out in training camp and, I think Mac maybe somewhat outplayed him, maybe a little bit. It's not like he completely outplayed him, but he outplayed him a little bit. So clearly there's confidence there. Again, I mean, this is the guy that Belichick wanted, who people thought he was going to maybe trade up for Fields, go up to 10 or 11 and try and get Fields there. He didn't. And they said that Jones was his guy. He didn't have to trade up at all. He got him at 15. So for him to be the starter day 1, we'll see how it works out. I don't know their schedule. You probably know their first couple games more than I do, but clearly he has enough confidence to start the season with them. And, if they get off to a rocky start, maybe it won't be the best look because you probably could have had Cam in there. But, I mean, he was going to be their guy of the future anyways, so you might as well just play him.
Yeah, I think we start with Dolphins at home, then at the Jets. I don't want to double-check that, but yeah, Dolphins at home, then we go to the Jets week 2. So it's it's an easier start as compared to maybe, what we could have had. I guess we do play the Saints week 3, which I think is tough, and then Bucks week 4 is definitely going to be tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I like the play of starting Mac. I think he should play all 17 games this season. Even if he looks bad, I don't really want to, put anybody else in there really. So,
yeah, I'd be surprised if he gets taken out at some point. Like, unless he's just like horrific, but I don't think his floor is I think his floor is higher than most rookies quarterbacks' floors. Like, I think he'll be solid. He may not be like amazing, but I think he'll be solid when he plays at the minimum.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think he'll be good. The real question with Mac to me is his ceiling. I'm not really sure of it. I mean, he could have his ceiling could be a top 5 quarterback, but if he's going to be a top 5 quarterback, it's probably not going to be based off arm. It's going to be based off of can he essentially do what Brady has done, which is just master pre-snap reads, master audibles, master doing something that Aaron Rodgers can't really do, in my opinion, which is just taking the check down, taking what the defense will give you and working with that. And that's how he can become a top 5 quarterback in my mind. I don't think he has the arm talent and stuff for it, but I think that's well known. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, could he ever be a top 5 quarterback? I don't know. I don't really, in my mind, I don't think so. I think he could be top 12 at some point, and I think that's good enough because you're probably thinking that the rest of your team is better. So I think that's reasonable, but top 5 I think is a lot for him. So maybe it happens, but I'd be very surprised if that were to happen. I think there's just more talented and more gifted quarterbacks than him. But again, his floor is a lot higher than other people's floors in my mind. So I'd rather take that than a guy who may have the highest ceiling, but his floor is just so low that you just don't really know until he starts playing. And then after a year or two, you're like, this guy could easily be a bust. Where Mac Jones he can be, 9-8, 8-9 in that area, and then as he gets better, they're 10-7, 11-6, 12-5, and then they get better and better. So I'd rather have that.
I would generally agree. I mean, would you rather have Mac Jones or Zach Wilson, actually? I mean, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but
I don't think we have. I do like Zach Wilson. I know you don't really like him that much, but I do. That's tough because I think Mac would probably be like, if they were to both play like 15-year careers, then I think Mac would probably have the more like solid. Like, you'd be like, all right, I'll take that career. It's probably, solid. He's not amazing. It's not like he's throwing 50 touchdowns. He's maybe, 25, 30 touchdowns. The picks aren't so high, whatever. His team can win games. But Wilson, I think, more has the superstar factor where he can win you games. And as long as the team is somewhat good enough, then I think he can be like a top quarterback. Will he ever be top 5? I don't know, but I think he has the ability to that. But again, Mac has that higher floor, so it's kind of a tough question.
yeah, my only thing that I think about when I hear the high floor, low ceiling thing, and I don't disagree with it, but the most recent guy I think of would be Jason Tatum with that, and I know it's a different sport, but Tatum was a guy who, when the Celtics were, debating, do we take Fultz 1, do we trade down, maybe we like Lonzo at 2, or Tatum or Jackson at 3 and 4. The thing people said was Tatum looks great offensively, but it seems like he's already developed like more than a Fultz or a Josh Jackson or an Alonzo, and his ceiling would be low, but his ceiling would be low, but his floor would be high. Whereas a Fultz will have a higher ceiling, and I mean, obviously that's turned out to not be true. And I think with a lot of the times people say that it ends up to not be true. I don't know that you would put Brady in that category because Brady was never, highly touted out of college. He was not really, he was a 6th-round pick, so I don't think you can throw him in that type of discussion. But yeah, anyways, I mean, I'm excited to see Mac. The Patriots schedule to start, I mean, the Dolphins defense is legit. The Bucs defense is legit. The Saints defense should be legit still. The Jets defense, I mean, the Jets probably won't be great, but that front 7 will be at least good enough to, make Mac have not the easiest time in the world. So we'll see how that is. Moving on, though, I guess we'll go to basketball.
Yeah. Ben
Simmons requested a trade. He put, I want to say, 3 California teams that he was willing to play for. I don't think we know technically, we don't know the 3 California teams. But if I had to guess, it would be the Clippers, Lakers, and Warriors. I would assume Sacramento's not on that list. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. That's the situation as far as I'm aware, and he's just in California, and he's not willing to come back. And essentially, if the 76ers don't trade him, he's just going to sit there on their roster and do nothing. What's your take?
Yeah, I didn't never saw the report about the only California teams, but Was that something that came out like today or something, or was that like an official report?
I think it came out yesterday. I can pull it up.
Yeah, I never saw that. But that, I guess it makes sense. I mean, again, Rich Paul is his agent, so I mean, if he's not going to be in Philly, like in a big East Coast city, he might as well be in a bigger West Coast city. Obviously that's kind of what like Rich Paul and all of his clients go for, is like kind of like the advertisement and marketing side of it too. So I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I would probably say, I mean, like, would a Clippers trade ever happen? No. Would a Lakers trade ever happen? No. So, I mean, even though those may be destinations, they're never going to happen. I think the Kings and the Warriors are definitely realistic. Probably more the Kings and the Warriors. People have been throwing out the Wiggins-Wiseman trade. I mean, I guess you could do that, but also I feel like you'd probably have to have, like, a third team in there somehow, because I don't know if the Warriors would want to do Wiggins and Wiseman for Simmons. I don't know how much of an upgrade that really is. And we talked about it yesterday, but having on the court at the same time, you could have Draymond and Simmons. So it's basically 3v5 on offense in terms of scoring, because Simmons isn't going to score and Draymond's not going to score. Now they could screen, move, and pass, but how much does that really do when teams can then actually double Steph? So I don't know how much I like that. And then for the Kings, that's probably the most likely destination. But I heard a report that they wanted Fox and Halliburton, and that's obviously not going to happen. So what would they get? Heald and Bagley and a pick maybe? I mean, I guess
that's not enough.
It's like not great, but I mean that may be what you have to trade him for.
I don't think the 76ers should be in a rush to trade Simmons, and I know that he won't play for you and all that, but am I going to be in a rush to trade him for essentially what would be either maybe something like McCollum or something like, Heald, Bagley in a first that's probably like top 10 protected? No, yeah. I wouldn't be in a rush to trade that. I would rather him just sit there and rot and do nothing. I mean, honestly. And maybe eventually, you just sit that out, and eventually either he's willing to come back, or he's willing to be traded to more teams, or he's willing to something, and or other teams are willing to up the price to get him sooner rather than him just sitting and doing nothing. I did look up the California thing. It looks, I don't know who reported it, but I'm seeing in multiple articles from like Bleacher Report, NBC, that it was 3 California teams that he wanted to be traded to. But I don't think we know the teams right now. So, but the 4 California teams are Sacramento Kings, Clippers, Lakers, and Warriors.
Yeah.
So if I had to guess which one he didn't put on his list, I would assume it's the Kings. I would assume the Lakers and Warriors would be there. I don't know. I mean, the Lakers wouldn't really be realistic. I mean, what would they give up to get Simmons? I'm not really sure on that. But I would assume he had the Lakers down there, because who wouldn't want to play for that team right now? But yeah, I mean.
And also, I saw that in a Simmons trade that Tyrese Maxey would have to be in it. So.
For what? What do you mean? Like just.
Tyrese Maxey's agent's also Rich Paul. So I saw something that said that if there's a Ben Simmons trade, that Maxey has to be in that trade.
Is there like a reasoning on that, or just
it's because Rich Paul is his agent? That's what I saw. That Rich Paul wants Tyrese Maxey out of Philadelphia if Simmons goes from Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, Maxey's a legit asset, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if his agent wasn't Rich Paul, and maybe this report's not even true, but let's say it is, and like he has to be traded if Simmons is traded. I mean, if I'm the Sixers, I don't really want to do that, because like he's a solid point guard to have. I mean, he played pretty well last year. He's undersized, but he was pretty good off the bench last year. So to start him, I would love that. So I'd rather not trade him, but I mean, it seems like he may have to.
Yeah, I'm just not in a rush to, like, I know that Ben Simmons may not play, but I'm just not in a rush to trade Simmons and Maxey for Heald, Bagley, and a pick, because ultimately I don't even think that makes your team that much better. I mean, Heald's... No. I mean, Heald what's Heald's ceiling? An elite sixth man? Is that his ceiling? Or is his ceiling like a really good starter? I don't know. I mean...
I think maybe on the right team, maybe a really good starter, but probably like a six man. Just a scoring option, whether it's six man or as your shooting guard, whatever it is. It's a scoring option.
Just to take some weight off of like.
And honestly, probably he probably is a six man, because you have Curry, and Tobias in the 2 and 3. So where's Buddy Hield going to play?
Probably off the bench.
Yeah.
I would assume so. And he'd be like that, he'd fill that.
And who would be their point? If, let's say, they had to trade Maxey as well, who would even be their point guard? Maybe the trade offer is better because you're throwing Maxey in there, but, what team are the teams that have been circulating? I saw the Cavs maybe you get Colin Sexton back, but, who else are you getting back that's even worth it to trade those two guys? Probably no one. Obviously, you're not going to get Mobley or someone, so I really don't know how to trade. I kind of agree with you that they really don't have to rush it, but what are you going to hold on to this guy while he's sitting out? That you just can't. You'd rather get him to play or you just have to trade him at some point, because if he's going to really sit out, then you might as well just trade him.
Well, what's his contract? Because how long could they technically I guess my question is I don't know how long they could sit with him on their team, and him just sitting out. I guess it would be until Could it? I don't even know if this is the case, but let's just say Ben Simmons didn't want to play and the 76ers were set on not trading him. Could they technically hold on to him for, this year, next year, until 2025, and when he's an unrestricted free agent? I don't know if that's the case or not.
Well, he still has 4 more years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Saying hold on to him for 4 more.
No, I'm not saying you would. I'm just saying would the rules allow that? I'm just curious. I would assume so.
What are you saying exactly?
If the 76ers for some reason just didn't want to trade him and Ben Simmons didn't want to play, could the 76ers keep him all those years?
Well, yeah, they could, yeah, but it's kind of it's almost like the Anthony Davis situation somewhat, in that even though he was on a shorter contract, if you hold on to a guy who's just super disgruntled with the team, then it kind of ruins your chances to get other guys. That's it's this organization won't trade me, and they won't, and I'm not they're not going to play me either. So you might why are you holding on to me? I guess that'd be the other argument to it. Is that why would you want to play for the Sixers if they're just not going to treat you fairly? That's kind of what happens now.
Yeah, no, I definitely get the reputation thing. I wouldn't say I know they wouldn't. I obviously wouldn't do that. I was just curious, for some reason, if that did happen, if that was even possible. I would assume so, but the reason I don't think it's that similar to the Anthony Davis situation is because the 76ers still seem willing to play Ben Simmons. It's just Ben Simmons not willing to play for them.
Yeah.
And I know that they want to trade him not only for the reputation thing, but to get assets back. But I think you got. What do you think the Pelicans got for Anthony Davis? On a percentage of how much he was worth. To me, I think they got 70% of what he was worth.
Well,
maybe less.
I think 70% is probably a decent number. Ingram, he's an all-star type player. So you basically got a fringe all-star who's still only, 24 that he is, or 23, however old he is. Lonzo, I think they just messed that up. He's clearly a pretty good player. Is he an all-star? No, but he's a really solid player on a team that, he's a perfect point guard for any championship team because he can shoot and defend and doesn't really want the ball to score. And then even getting Josh Hart, he's a pretty solid bench player, and he did re-sign with the Pelicans. So, look, is it ever going to match up to what AD was? No, unless Ingram turned out to be a monster. But obviously, that wasn't going to happen. So, yeah, probably 70%. But honestly, that trade really wasn't that bad. They just messed up the Lonzo situation by, they just didn't play him, and then, obviously they let him go and stuff, so.
Yeah, I think they got, picks, too. They definitely did get picks, too.
They got I think that they got the number 4 pick that they traded back to get Jackson Hayes, I think it was who they drafted, which that wasn't a great pick for them, but
I'm just speaking in terms of let's not even consider that they, okay, so it's the number 4 selection, a top 8 protected pick in 2021, and the right to swap first round picks in 2023, and unprotected 2024 first round pick that New Orleans can defer to 2025. I believe that's the package. I could be wrong on that, but we'll just say that it is. That's 70% of what Anthony Davis is worth. If not, maybe less. I don't know, but what I'm trying to say is I think, let's just say it's Healed, Bagley, and on a top 10 protected next year. Let's just say that. To me, that's 40 to 35% of what Ben Simmons is worth. To me, that's nothing. I view Bagley as a lottery ticket at this point. I mean, you expect him to not turn out to anything.
Yeah.
And if he becomes a good player, that's like icing on the cake. I mean, that's really just, again, that's winning the lottery. I don't expect much out of him at this point. Healed, again, as like an elite six man. I mean, really, what is that worth? I mean, you could have essentially, I mean, Healed is better than Schroeder, but if you wanted somebody like Healed that badly, you could have gone out and gotten Schroeder, who's not exactly like Healed, but if you wanted that like scorer off the bench, you can get you, 20 when you need it in any given game. I mean, that's what Schroeder can do, and you could have had him for literally $10 million for 1 year.
Yeah.
And then the pick is the pick. I mean, I just think that's like nothing. I mean, Ben Simmons, I mean, okay, I've never loved Simmons as much as others. I mean, there were people that really loved Simmons back in the day. I like Simmons, but he's just like, I mean, he's still a great player. He's still an all-defense. He's going to be an all-defense guy for the remainder of his contract. He's going to be an elite playmaker the rest of his contract. He's an elite finisher still for a point guard. I mean, he's 6'8". He can get to the basket. He may not be able to score very well, but that's the only thing he really can't do. I mean, obviously that's a huge part of the game, but I just think to trade that for Healed Bagley and a pick, I mean, or let's just say it's, Wiggins and, picks or something, like I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, the only thing is, like, I really don't see how he doesn't get traded. Like, he's just so adamant about not wanting to be there anymore, and I honestly don't really blame him because, and a lot of it's his fault, but, he just, like, it's like a Fultz situation, but more like a higher level because it's like he just can't handle Philadelphia. Like, once Fultz left Philadelphia, he became he became a better player when he went to Orlando. Now he got injured, but, like, he was a lot better when he went to Orlando. Like, if Simmons were to leave Philadelphia, I'm not saying he'd become a great offensive scorer or anything, but I think he'd just have a better mindset. And yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, for the rest of his contract, he's going to turn 29 when he's a free agent, so he's still going to get another contract after that. So, and he's going to be all defensive first or second team probably the rest of his career. And then he's still, playmaker. He could get you a triple-double basically any point. So, I mean, I would agree, but I really don't see how he doesn't get traded. It's just like, it seems like that relationship is just completely gone at this point. And I'd be super surprised if he doesn't get traded, whether it's before the season starts or at the deadline or next season, whenever. It has to be sometime.
Yeah, no, I think he'll be traded 100% before next season. But, like, I think he could be on the I think he could be with the 76ers on their team at least, not playing probably, but I think he can be on that team when the regular season starts. If he only wants to be traded to 3 teams and is only willing to play for 3 teams, I don't know that that's the case. Maybe he's still willing to play for Cavs or for whatever. But if those are his ideal teams, I don't think there's a good package there. I mean, I've talked about it enough, and I don't think any team's really going to give you a good package. I just think his value is just down right now because of the postseason and because everybody knows he wants out and they're not willing to be like, maybe the Blazers would have given McCollum and other stuff for Simmons. At this point, I don't think they would, just because the value on him is so down. And McCollum's probably the best package you might be able to get. And I don't even know if the Blazers would do that straight up.
Yeah.
I would. I mean, if I would if I was the Blazers. I don't think McCollum's that great of a player. At least he's not helping you win a championship on that team right now. But still.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think that he was the centerpiece of a James Harden trade.
Yeah, I mean they could have had Harden right now, and not had to deal with any of the Simmons stuff, and they blew it. And honestly, that sucks for the league because I don't think it's good for the league that Harden's on the Nets. I would love for Harden to be on the 76ers because we'd still have that like duo thing. I mean, last year was kind of like the year of like duos. I mean, you had AD, LeBron. I guess the Nets were the super team, but you had a bunch of duos, and now I think that Westbrook trade was made to compete with the Nets. I don't know if the Nets don't have the big 3. Do they make that Westbrook trade still? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't know. I would say most likely not, but there may have been a chance. But yeah, I mean, if Harden's a Sixer right now, I definitely would say most likely not.
If Harden was a Sixer right now, I mean, Ben's irrelevant on the Rockets at this point, but if Harden was on the Sixers just for fun, I mean, who would you have making out of the East? Would you still pick the Nets, or would you go with the Rockets or the Sixers?
I think I'd go with the Sixers, to be honest. I think that team would be a really good team. Having Harden play point guard, and then I'm assuming you're keeping Curry, Harris you'd keep. You still have Embiid, obviously. They may have had to give up Maxey in that trade.
I would think Maxey.
Yeah. So, but I think your team, they got George Hill, who would have been a solid veteran. I think it would have been close, but man, that would have been tough. Because then the Nets, Harden added so much to that team. I know he was injured, but I don't even know. I think I'd go with the Sixers, to be honest.
I would probably go with the Sixers as well. The only thing I'd be scared of would be, does Harden's game change at all when he's playing with Embiid?
Yeah.
I would assume so. Obviously, it had to change being with Kyrie and Durant, but I don't know if he thinks it had to change with him being with Embiid. I would assume so. He's a better player on the Nets than he was on the Rockets, in my opinion. I don't think it's very close. Actually, no, I think it's close, but Harden's style, I was never a fan of.
Yeah, it's two different styles, but one style is more team basketball, and that's the one on the Nets.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would think he'd probably change his style. But probably not as much, but probably 50%, yeah.
All right, well, that's that for Ben Simmons. We'll see what happens on that front. We'll get into the AFC over-under for win total. We did the NFC last episode. Like I said, feel free to check that out. I will put the link to that episode in the description and in the top right of the screen right now. But let's just get into it. We'll do what we did last time. I'm going to go from the worst team in terms of over-under to the best, and you will just give me the answer. So we'll start off with the worst, and that's the Houston Texans at 4.
Texans at 4. Well, this situation is so weird because obviously Watson, is he going to play? Is he not going to play at all? Is he going to get traded, which there was a report about him and the Dolphins a couple days ago? Or is he going to play for them at some point? I don't think anyone knows, to be fair. So I'm going to go as that he just doesn't play for them, whether he sits out or he gets traded, and I'm going to say under. This team is terrible. And they're not in a great division. Obviously you have the Titans and the Colts, but it's not like those two teams are amazing. So maybe they can sneak a win or two, but they're just not a good team. So I'm going to go under 4.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with Watson. Is he going to get... the latest report would show that he's getting traded to the Dolphins. I don't know if he's going to get traded to the Dolphins. What if he doesn't get traded? Is he going to play?
I don't think there's a way I really don't even think he plays this season. Because...
At all?
If he doesn't get traded, I don't think he plays for the Texans, but obviously the lawsuits and everything. But even if he gets traded to the Dolphins, the only way he gets traded is if they know that he could play this year. Because then why would you trade for him?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either.
Interesting. I don't know. I would go under 2. I'm just too scared of the Texans. It's probably the worst team in the league on paper. The Jets are at 6 wins.
Jets at 6. I think they go 7-10. I think. I think I'm gonna go under, but I wish it was 6.5 because then I'd probably say they get 6 wins. I don't think they. I think they're better than a 5-win team, but I don't think they're a 7-10 team, to be fair. So I guess that's why I'm going under. But I think this team will be. I think it'll be somewhat decent. Obviously, it's going to depend on Wilson. That defense hurts with Carl Lawson getting injured, but. The division is going to be tougher, which obviously doesn't help, but I actually do kind of like the Jets. And if Wilson's, pretty good, then I think he could probably lead them to a extra win or two that they probably wouldn't have had, but I think I'm going to go under.
I'm going to go under 2. Not a fan of it being at 6. I don't see this team getting more than 6 wins. I can see them getting under 6. I think they're a 6-win team. I think it's way more likely they finish 5-11 or 5-12 than they do 7-10.
Yeah,
it's not happening. I don't think. After that is the Bengals at 6.5.
Bengals at 6.5. That division. The problem is that division is so tough. You have Ravens, Browns, who you will definitely both have double-digit wins, and then even the Steelers. I think they'll be 500. So whether they're 8-9, 9-8, even 7-10, honestly, they're gonna rack up wins. So I think I have to go under here only because of the division. I just don't see how many games they're going to win. And, Burrow is playing. He's healthy. I'm surprised he actually played in the preseason. He tore his ACL. It wasn't the first game last season. It was a couple games in. So I'm kind of surprised he's already back. But I I'm gonna go under. And you said it was 6.5. You said,
Yep.
yeah,
6.5.
I think 5 or 6 wins is pretty solid for this team.
I still think this division's insanely competitive. I don't love the Steelers, but I mean the Steelers are better than the Bengals for sure right now.
Yeah.
I go under too. 6.5 seems really high actually.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they're 6.5 and the Jets are 6. Because I think that division's tougher than the East. Because you have 2 teams that you know are going to get double-digit wins. You don't know if the Dolphins and Patriots are going to reach 10-plus wins. You think they will, but you don't know that. Like, you know the Ravens and the Browns are going to have 10-plus wins.
I feel like the Bills are the best team out of those 2 divisions, and I would have the Ravens and Browns at 2 and 3 on paper, but I think the way it'll play out is I think the Bills will be 1. I think one of the AFC North teams will be 2, and then I think either the Patriots or the Dolphins will be better than either of the Browns or Ravens, I guess.
Really? I don't think so. I think the Browns and Ravens are clear 2-3 between the 2 divisions.
On paper right now, I think the way it'll play out with injuries and with all that, I don't know. I think the East having I think the East is a tougher division because I don't think the Steelers are on that level of the Dolphins and the Patriots, I guess. And I think having 3 legitimate teams is more competitive than having 2 legitimate teams and the Steelers.
I actually think the Steelers are pretty similar to the Dolphins because Tua is such a question that I don't know what's going to happen. And even Jones, I mean, like, not saying he's, like, he is obviously a big question. So, I mean, like, it's, you're going with, like, a second-year quarterback and a rookie quarterback versus, like, Lamar and Baker, who have been in the league a couple of years and proven to win games. And then even, Big Ben, if he can have a solid year, that defense is still going to be good enough for them to win games. So, I don't know. I actually kind of like, maybe Browns, Ravens 2-3, then rather, I think maybe Patriots or Dolphins in that 4, and then probably Steelers in the 5 spot.
And then the other one in the 6?
Yeah, that's honestly what I would think.
Interesting. I think that's definitely a possibility, too. I mean, it is probably most likely that it is Bills 1, Ravens, Browns 2 and 3, then, yeah. But, I don't know. I think one of those, I think the Patriots are going to be good. I mean, I'm biased, obviously. I'm not even a big Dolphins fan.
Well, how about also Gilmore's not going to be there for the first half of the season?
It's a blow.
Yeah.
It's a big blow. How good would Gilmore have been if he was here, like, from week 1? I mean, I don't know. He didn't have a great year last year. I don't think he wasn't good. He was good. He just wasn't great. It's a blow. I think they'll be fine without him. I think J.C. Jackson's good enough to be the corner 1 for now. It's going to be a blow, though, but ultimately, will it cost them a game? Maybe. But I think they'll be fine. Anyways. Jaguars, 6.5.
Whew, Jaguars at 6.5. I think I'm going to go over. I think I'm just going to put my faith into Lawrence. And I think they can get 7 wins. Would I be surprised? I would actually be very surprised if they did get 7 wins. But I think Lawrence is going to show a lot of things this year, and I think he can probably win them a game or 2 that obviously they wouldn't have won in years past. And we'll see how Urban Meyer is. I mean, obviously on the college level he won all the time, but obviously it's the NFL. He doesn't have a great team, but I think the team has talent in certain in different positions, and obviously with Lawrence, that's obviously the biggest factor of that. But yeah, I think they can get 7 wins. Like I said, this division isn't that good of a division. It's good, but it's not great. The top 2 teams aren't the best teams in the AFC or even the NFL, obviously. So I think they can maybe sneak a game off one of those guys, and then the Texans, you'd assume you probably have to go 2-0 versus the Texans to probably get 7 wins, but I think they can.
I'm gonna go under. I think 6.5 is just too high. I'm low on Urban Meyer this year. I don't know what it is, but I didn't like the Minshew trade. I just thought it was weird. I mean, you split reps. They split reps, right? All of training camp and everything, just for you to trade Minshew for a 6th round pick, which maybe turns into a 5th if Minshew plays, essentially.
Well, they weren't going to keep him though.
Why not? I mean,
you didn't need to keep Minshew because he was an asset that you could trade, and you knew there's no point of him being on this team. So you knew you could trade him, and you knew you can get somewhat for him. So I don't really see that as like a negative.
I think the reason I think it is a negative is because you split because essentially Lawrence could have had 50% more practice before the regular season, but he didn't because he, for some reason, thought he wanted to try to make it a quarterback battle for some reason.
Maybe to try to up his value, possibly.
I mean, I don't. I think that's a horrible move. I mean, what was Minshew's value pre-training camp? A 7th? A 6th?
I mean, I don't know. He didn't have a great year last year, but
that's probably what I would have had it at. And you got a 6th that maybe turns into a 5th. I don't know if he upped his value at all. Maybe slightly, but I don't think that was worth it for the amount of reps that Lawrence could have had. And I don't think it's. I just no. I don't like it, and I not a fan. Not a fan. I go under on that, not only because of that, but because I don't think the roster is actually that great. I just think you have a bunch of holes in that team. It's not there yet. Obviously, losing Etienne is a blow. I mean, I'm not a fan of drafting running backs in the first round regardless. He may have been an exception to the rule because he's more of he could have provided in the pass catching game too. He should come back at some point in the regular season.
No, he's done.
Is he officially done?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go on the IR before the season starts, then there was a certain deadline. If you go on the IR, you're out for the season no matter what. And he was on that deadline.
Okay, so he's out for the season regardless.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but I don't know. I don't love this roster anyways. I go under on 6.5. Raiders at 7.
Raiders at 7. Jeez. These are way harder than the NFC numbers, by the way. I think I'm going to go under. I don't really like the Raiders that much. Even though I don't mind Derek Carr, I think Derek Carr is actually a pretty decent quarterback. But that team, I don't think that team's that good. And the last couple of years, they haven't been great. And it seems like they always pull off a crazy win, and then you think that they're going to win a couple games, and then they just completely disappoint. So I think the Chargers will be better. I think the Broncos will be better. And obviously the Chiefs are the Chiefs. So I think it's a really tough division. And, if they have a bad year, I wonder what happens to Gruden. Because obviously he signed the 10-year contract, but, they haven't done anything since he's gotten there. So, if anything, they've probably gotten worse. So, I'm going to go under.
I don't know what happens to Gruden. Let's just say they do go 7-10. I don't know. I mean, I feel like they've put so much faith in him that it's tough to fire him at this point. But I don't know. I just think Gruden has been put in a not great situation. I mean, at least for him, because he never was really sold on Carr. It didn't seem. But when he thinks about it, I mean, this team's not bad enough to go 1-16 or whatever to the point. And any of the years where he could have gotten like a good quarterback, or like a high draft quarterback, high first round. So you kind of had to stick with Carr. He's, I don't know what you would think of the Khalil Mack trade. I don't think it's as bad as people made it out to be. But a lot of the picks they've made have been not great. I mean, they've taken plenty of reaches. In this draft, it was Leatherwood, I want to say, that they reached on, and pick 17.
That was a big reach. Yeah.
That was a big reach. Cleveland Farrell was another big reach that I can remember of. Ruggs is a big reach.
They did get Jacobs, but a running back, so you don't know exactly what's going to happen with that, obviously.
Was Jacobs a first rounder?
Yeah, he was
20 something.
24. He was like a part of the Mac trade, but a lot of reaches. I mean, again, Ruggs. You could have had Lamb, Judy, or Jefferson. So big reaches for them.
At least Jacobs might have been their best first rounder that I can think of right now. In terms of value, at 24. But I don't even know if you make that pick again. I mean, if you knew you could get a guy like Jacobs at 24, are you making that pick? I don't know. I mean, I think that's a coin flip. I think some teams do, some teams don't.
It's a question, obviously, just because he's a running back. But, I mean, production-wise so far, yeah, for sure. But he's more of that's a pick you make when you're win now. And obviously they weren't win now. You take a running back there when you're like, all right, we need some more offense. So let's get a guy here who's probably going to last us 4 or 5 years. And then by the time his contract comes up, we could obviously just not re-sign him or, whatever. But, yeah, I would agree. I would say I think I probably would, even saying that. So
you would take Jacobs again at 24?
Yeah, because he's shown. I mean, he's a Pro Bowl running back.
I don't know that he is anymore.
I mean, I think he is.
I guess what's a Pro Bowl running back? A top 3 running back in your conference?
I mean, I guess technically that is what a Pro Bowl running back is.
Is he a top 3 running back in the AFC right now? I can't think of the running backs in the AFC, but
I think he probably is, to be fair. I mean, I'll just do a quick list, but
I think he's overrated. I will say that. I mean, I don't know how overrated he is, but
I mean, you have Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, but a lot of them are in the NFC. I mean, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Saquon, Zeke.
he's a fringe Pro Bowler. He's not a lock to be the third best running back in the AFC.
I don't know.
Is he a top 8 running back in the league? I don't think so.
I think he's right there.
I think he's overrated. But whatever. I'm under on the Raiders too. I think they're around that 7-10. I think they're the best team we've talked about yet. I think they're better than the Jaguars, better than the Jets, better than the Texans, better than the Bengals. I think they could be over. I'm going to go under though. It's interesting that they have the Raiders as the worst team in this division. I think they're going to have I think the Broncos are going to be a lot higher on this list, and I'm probably going to go under on the Broncos because I'm not as high on the Broncos as others are. So yeah. We'll go to the next team. The next team is Falcons, Panthers, Bears. It is the Broncos. Okay. The next team is the Broncos at 8.5.
One just quick thing. I think the only other running back would be Jonathan Taylor in the AFC.
I think Taylor's going to have a better year.
So it would be Henry, Henry, Chubb, Taylor, and Jacobs. I mean, so if he's not 3, he's 4. I mean, I think he's one of the better running backs. But 8.5, you said for the Broncos? All right, I think that's way too high. I'm going to go under. Even though I like the Broncos, that's way too high for them. I don't think they're that good. Whether it's Bridgewater for the entire season or you have to go back to Locke at some point, even though that you'd have to be drastic measures to do that. Because if you lose to Teddy Bridgewater, clearly you're not that good. So I even though I like this team, I like their roster. Obviously, quarterback is just a huge question for them. And like I said, that division is tough. So 8.5, I think, is way too high for them. I don't know if they're a game and a half better than the Raiders, especially with the quarterback situation. So I'm gonna go under.
Yeah, I think they're very similar to the Raiders. That makes me want to go over on the Raiders now. I'm gonna go under on the Broncos at 8.5. I think that is too high. I know why people are high on the Broncos. The Broncos have been a team that people have been high on for the past couple years. Yeah. They're like, oh well, Sutton. The offense is getting better. I like Locke. He has a big arm. The defense is, not too far gone from 2015, which it is, but I'm under on the Broncos. I don't actually think they're that great. I think they have a solid defense. They should have a top 10 defense, but they're gonna have a bottom 10 offense, I think, without a doubt. Bridgewater's not good. The only way they could even have a mediocre offense is if somehow Locke comes back and Locke is an average or better quarterback, and I don't think that's like no way. So I'm under on the Broncos. I'm gonna go over on the Raiders. I'm changing my mind if you can change that. So I'm officially changing my mind on the Raiders. I'm over on the Raiders at 7.
So you're under, right?
I'm under on the Broncos, over on the Raiders.
Oh, you changed back on Raiders. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only team I've been over on so far is the Raiders. Yeah. But I think they're like at 8 wins. So it's not over by much. But
yeah.
Next team is the Steelers at 8.5.
Jeez, Steelers 8.5.
That's a good line, I think.
Yeah, I think that's really tough because I could see him at 8 or 9, like I was saying earlier. I could see him 8 and 9 or 9 and 8. Which one do I think? I'm gonna go over just because I've kind of been going under a lot. So I'm gonna say over. Like I said, if it's 8 and 9, I wouldn't be surprised. If it's 9 and 8, I wouldn't be surprised. That's obviously being over. So it just depends on Big Ben. I'd say the defense is still gonna be good. Having Watt there, Hayden, Minka. They're still gonna be a really good defense. They're gonna have to steal a game or two off the Browns and Ravens, which they almost seem to do that always. They do always play they seem to beat the Ravens on the road and then lose at home. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do beat the Ravens at least once. But yeah, it's Big Ben. His year last year was all right. It wasn't amazing, obviously, but if Najee Harris can be good and the running game can come back into effect, then I think it opens up their offense, 1,000 times more. So if that happens, then yeah, I could definitely see them have more momentum. And obviously last year they were 12? Were they 12-0 or what were they? 11-0, 10-0?
Something like that.
And then they finished 12-4. I think they were 11-0 and they finished 12-4. Obviously that's not going to happen again, but yeah, I think I'm going to go over. So
I'm gonna go under on the Steelers. I think they're 8 wins. The reason I go under is because I think 8.5 is a great line, and I think if they're healthy, they're probably like 9-8, 10-7. But odds are just in the league, the odds are you're gonna have injuries, and I think if you have any like significant injuries, like if Big Ben gets injured, and he's probably gonna be injured at least for a few games this year, I would assume. I don't think he's gonna play all 17. At least I think that's unlikely. I think to go over, you have to go 4-2 in the division, which means you get 2 wins against the Bengals and you split against the Ravens and Browns. I think that actually is the most likely scenario, but I think it's going to come down to I'm looking at their schedule. I'm not sure like how tough it is, but it at least seems tough. I mean, Bills, Packers, Seahawks, the Broncos the Broncos are still a tough opponent, even if I just said they're going under 8.5. Obviously, the Ravens, Titans, Chiefs. Like, that's a tough schedule. I don't know, like...
Well, they have a first-place schedule, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yes. No. Yes. No. No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
I think the Browns were 11-5 last year.
What were the Ravens?
They were a wild card team. They were 11-5 also.
Okay. Yeah. They do have a first place. Yeah, obviously. I mean, they're playing the Chiefs.
So, yeah, I guess that hurts. But, I don't know. I'm still going over.
Okay. I'm going under. So, Colts at 9.
Colts at 9. I'm gonna go over. I do really like the Colts, and like I said, that division is just them and the Titans, and we'll see about the Wentz situation. I mean, again, he's already injured, so that does not help. But it seems like he is ready. I think he's gonna be ready for Week 1. If anything, I think he just misses the first week, and he's back for the second week. I think that's what the latest report said. So. I mean, assuming he's healthy, assuming he can somewhat stay healthy and just be able to play, he should be better. Now, obviously, you still need those turnovers to go down. That's still an issue. But if he can just be solid, not go back to what he was 2017, but even what he was 2018, he had a really good 2018 year as well. If he could be that, just be a solid quarterback, they're going to win games because that defense is really good. It's a great coaching staff. The offense, he has a lot of weapons on that offense. Again, they really rely on that running game, which he really hasn't had in Philadelphia. So, yeah, I think they're probably like an 11-win team to me, to be honest. So, yeah, over.
I go over as well. But the reason I'm scared about the Colts, and I was thinking about while you're talking, is I'm scared of Wentz. I thought this was going to be Wentz's fresh start, and it seems like that's like not the case almost. I mean, yeah. With injuries, with just the whole vibe around the Colts, it seems like he's still just not the guy. I don't know what the word is for it. He just doesn't seem like mentally as strong as a franchise quarterback should be, and that's still mentally. I mean, he's still mentally stronger than 99.5% of the population in general, but. Does he have the mental fortitude of the average franchise quarterback? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm surprised the Colts are as confident in Jacob Eason as they have shown, at least. I remember there were a while ago when Wentz initially got injured. There were debates on if they should go call up Nick Foles and the Bears. That would be stupid if they did that, by the way. But I'm over. I think this team's talented. I think they win the division, and I think the top AFC South team has at least 10 wins.
Yeah.
So the Titans are next, and they are also at 9.
Yeah. Basically, I'm going over. Basically the same reasoning. Division, they're clearly the first or second best team in this division. We'll see. I think the biggest question is Henry. Is this the year he gets injured? Is this the year that he slows down? Again, it's back-to-back years of just huge amounts of carries and yards and hits taken. So we'll see. But they get Julio. So if anything, your pass offense should be better with him and AJ Brown. If something happens to Henry or he's just not as effective as he has been the last couple of years, but that defense obviously still needs to get better. But yeah, I mean for 9 wins, they should get over. They should be competing with the Colts for the division. I don't know who's going to win the division, but yeah, they should be 10, 11, 12 wins, somewhere in that range.
I'm going to go under.
Under?
I think no, I don't know.
I mean,
I think they're a 9-win team, and they're at exactly 9. So
do you think they'll get to 10, or will they be at 8?
I'm fine. I'll go over. I'm going to go over. But I don't love this team. I mean, they're playing a first-place schedule. I think that's tough. And honestly, I don't see this being the year that they have AJ Brown, Julio Jones, and Derrick Henry all being healthy.
Yeah, that's true.
Their defense is their pass rush any better than it was last year? I don't know. I mean, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's just as bad. Um, so yeah, I like Vrabel as a coach, but I don't love the offense. I expect Tannehill to not be as good. I'll go over purely because I think their division's really easy. Um, and I think it's more likely they have 10 wins than 8, but I don't see them being over 10. I mean, I really don't. And I think they could be at 8. I think they're probably a 9-win team, though. That's why I would have them. If you made me pick one number, I would go with 9 wins. So, yeah. After the Titans, it is the Dolphins at 9.5.
Wow, Dolphins at 9.5. I'm going under. I think that's really high for them. Tua, unless he makes huge steps, which if he's making huge steps, then there wouldn't be reports of them wanting Watson. So I don't think he is. I was never a Tua guy, so it's not surprising to me. So I'm going under. Now, could they maybe get to 8? Could they maybe get to 9 wins? Possibly. Because that defense is really good, but they did lose a lot of guys on that defense from last year as well. And Xavier Howard, probably their best just overall defensive player, has said he wanted out. We'll see what happens with everything like that. But maybe he's not as good as he was the last couple of years. I don't know. But it's a couple situations to look for there. So like you said, the Patriots will be better. Obviously the Bills are really good as well. So and Tua is a huge question. So I'm going under. I don't really like the Dolphins this year.
Yeah, him and Howard and the Dolphins did agree to restructure the contract. So Xavier Howard's contract situation should be fine for now, but he's still one of those guys that I think is massively overrated as a cornerback. He makes a lot of plays, but he's not that type of cornerback that's like, I'm not going to target this guy because he's just so good. That's like a Revis level or a Sherman level. I don't even think he's on a Ramsey level. I don't think he's on that level. I think he's a guy that you're still willing to target. He's going to make plays, but he's also going to have plays made against him. I don't think he's as even good as a Gilmore either. He may had a better year last year than Gilmore, but going forward, I don't think he's as good as Gilmore. I think he's overrated. I don't love this team in general. I think they cut like all their captains from last year. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong on that, but I think they cut like a lot of their captains. And Van Noy was asked about Brian Flores. And like the difference between him being the D coordinator over at New England and him being the head coach, and he said no comment, which means there's deeper like roots to this stuff that the public just doesn't know about yet. And yeah. Van Noy's a guy that he talks like I know for a fact he talks a lot. So it's weird. I go under. I don't love this Dolphins team. I think they're an 8-win team. I was a Tua guy. I've since gotten off that bandwagon. I'm not a Tua guy anymore. So yeah, I mean, I don't love the Dolphins at 9.5. If it was at like 8.5, I would consider going over, but even then I think I'd still go under. All right. After the Dolphins is the Chargers, also at 9.5.
Chargers at 9.5. Chargers at 9.5. I think I'm gonna go over. I think it'll be 10 wins. I think they can get 10 wins. Am I super confident in that? No, but I think Herbert's gonna have an amazing year. I've always been a big Herbert fan, so I'm kind of riding that. And the overall team isn't that bad. They've just had so many. It seems like they're just the Chargers, and they've always had so many ways to lose in like improbable games, whether it's kicking or defense or just whatever. So hopefully that luck just changes. Obviously, having a new coach and Brandon Staley, I think helps. Anthony Lynn was a terrible coach, so I think Staley's going to be better. I think the defense will be better because obviously you saw what he did with the Rams last year. Even though there's more talent there, I think he's obviously a really good defensive coach. So I kind of like him at 10 wins. I think they can, possibly be a wild card team. Possibly. We'll see what the other teams lay out, but I think they'll be in that race, and I think Herbert's going to have a big year.
I don't know what to do with this team. I'm going to go over. I think they're a 9-win team, though, but I think they're more likely to be like 10 or 11 than they are to be 9. I don't think they're an 8-win team. I'm gonna go over. I think Herbert is probably gonna be a top 10 quarterback this year. If not, he's around that. But I don't know. I just like. Is there a more? Is Joey Bosa the most like overrated pass rusher in the league? Probably not. But
I mean, I don't know how overrated he is, but
I just think people think he's better than he is. I mean, he's also just not consistent. But
well, he's also just not healthy. That's right.
Exactly though. I mean, that's the thing.
But I mean, Joey Bosa's pretty good.
Yeah, but I think to me that's what makes him overrated is like he's never on the field. He's not that consistent, and even like in the days when he had Melvin Ingram in his Melvin Ingram prime days, like it was both of them. They played the Patriots and they did like nothing. And I know that's like one game, but that was a playoff game and that mattered. But I think in the regular season they'll be fine. They have a lot of talent still. It's really not that far away of a team than compared to like what was that like 2020 not 2014 2016 2017. They're still a good team. They should be the second best team in this division. How good are they? I don't know. I mean, I think they're a 10-win team or a 9-win team. I think it's a coin toss on whether or not this is over under, but I'll go over. Patriots also at 9.5. I'll let you go first in this one.
Patriots at 9.5. I think over. Yeah, I think over. I think they're better than. I think Jones. Like we were obviously talking about it earlier, but I think Jones is going to be solid for them. You know, he's going to make the right plays. He's probably not going to make the wrong plays. So I think they'll be safe with him. I think the defense is really good. They're a lot, and obviously all the signings that they've made, you'd assume those guys are going to play up. All the COVID guys who opted out last year are back this year, at least most of them. So I think they'll be a better team. And even last year, they really weren't that bad last year. And you add a couple new guys in, new signings, a new quarterback there who can obviously throw the ball, unlike last year. So yeah, I think 10 wins is very reachable. So yeah, over.
Yeah, I think this team is 3 wins, especially with an extra game. I think they're 3 wins better than they were last year. Just like you said, COVID guys, Hightower, getting Van Noy back should be nice. I don't know how much it'll matter. I don't know how good he'll be, but that should matter. Missing out on Gilmore is a blow. I mean, it's probably a bigger blow than I said it was like 20 minutes ago or whatever. But how big of a blow is it? Are they going to be under 9 wins or under 9.5? I don't think so. I'm going to go the over. Mac Jones, as long as he throws for more than 8 touchdowns, should be better than Cam. I think he will be. I don't know. I never loved Cam. I think Mac's better for McDaniels' system as well. The running back depth chart is still great. Harris to me should be really good. I think Harris will be really good. White is James White. He should be a solid running back out of the backfield. I think Jones should make big use out of White. It's somebody that Brady made big use out of as well. And then you've got Stevenson, who should be your goal line guy, and Taylor, who should be a special teamer as well as just a really shifty change of pace running back. I think that's a really deep running back depth chart, and overall I prefer I would rather have the Patriots running back situation than the Raiders right now. Even though Jacobs is on a top 10 running back, he may be higher than any of these running backs. I'd rather have the Patriots running back depth chart than the Raiders. Maybe that's a hot take, maybe it's not. I actually don't love the free agent pickups as much as other people may love them. I really don't care for Aguilar. I don't care for Bourne. I don't really care for Jonnu Smith either. And Hunter Henry's already injured. But I think they're still, it's still going to benefit the team even if the contracts themselves aren't great contracts. So I'm over. And Judon looks amazing. So
yeah.
The Browns at 10.5.
Yeah, Browns at 10.5. Over. I really like the Browns. This year. Wait, 10.5. You said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Browns this year. It's between them and the Ravens for that division, and I think they're better than the Ravens. Maybe the regular season the Ravens will have more wins, but I think the Browns are a better team than the Ravens. So I just think that having Baker, what they did last year was pretty impressive as well. But yeah, between them and the Ravens, I think they'll be better, and we'll see. As long as they can stay healthy, as long as Chubb can stay healthy, and he had the injury last year, you still have Hunt, which is a pretty good backup, obviously. But yeah, and we'll see what Odell does. We talked about it yesterday, but Odell makes teams worse. So hopefully the diva aspect of his game is somewhat gone now, but you don't really know. But I don't think that'll affect him that much.
even if Odell's not great, which I think that's more likely than not, if he's just a negative asset for the team, I still think this team is better than 10.5 wins. I want to say they're playing a third-place schedule. At least looking at their schedule, I'm like 9. It's the third-place schedule. They finished third in their division, right?
They finished second.
Did they?
They played the Steelers. Because the Ravens played the Titans in the wild card.
Okay, well,
anyways, that was the wild card game, right?
Looking at their schedules, the Browns' schedule does not look that bad. I think they finished third.
Actually, no, they finished third, but then they played the Chiefs.
Because they play the Patriots.
They finished. Yeah, they finished third.
They're playing a third place schedule, and the schedule looks relatively easy. It's not the easiest schedule of all time, but I like this team more than 10.5 wins. And if Odell does end up having his best year in 5 years or whatever, then that makes this team even better than I think it is. But I think you're high on I think you're too high on the Browns still. I don't trust this organization still. I think I think he's just overrated. I think people like him more than they should. And the question of this team is Baker. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, this team on paper, other than the quarterback, is a top 5 roster in the NFL probably. At least on paper, assuming Odell is Odell. That's a top 5 roster, right?
Yeah.
If not top 3, maybe.
I think top 5 roster for sure. Yeah.
I think probably maybe higher, maybe 4 or 3 or 2. I mean, really.
Yeah.
The question is Baker. I think Baker's all right. I think he's a top 16 quarterback, but he makes mistakes. He's still pretty limited. He doesn't have the arm or the mobility or the throw on the run ability that Mahomes has. He doesn't make something out of nothing. I don't think.
So
no, but that's obviously. I mean, I guess that's an obvious take, but I mean that's who you're competing against in the East. You're competing against Baker and Josh Allen.
Yeah.
The Browns may have slightly better rosters than those teams, but the quarterback is not close to me. And so I'll go over, but it's like a begrudgingly going over because they don't have a great schedule, or they play against a weak schedule, and but I don't think they're as good as other people think. And my roommate's a Browns fan, and it just pisses me off because he's just like way too in love with the Browns. Bills 11.
Wow, so they have the Ravens.
The Ravens are also at 11.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Bills at 11. Yeah, I'm going over. I mean, they're clearly the best team in that division. Allen, obviously had an amazing year last year. I think for sure gonna have a great year. I think this is what he's going to be. Is he gonna be as good as he was last year? I don't know, but I think he'll be right around that, which is obviously top 7 quarterback, probably if worse, which I think is what he is. And that team is definitely a talented team, with a great coach. I love their coach. So yeah, over 11 for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to go over 2. I think they're an 11-win team, though. That's what I would have them as if you made me pick one number. So I'm going to go over. I think they're 11, though. Maybe they're more likely to be a 12-win team than they are a 10-win team. Their schedule is going to be tougher. I mean, it's going to be tough. But they're still a great team. I mean, their roster is insane. Diggs should still be a top 5 receiver. Allen should theoretically still be a top 6 quarterback. I think he probably will be. If not, it'll be around that range. So yeah, Ravens at 11.
Ravens at 11.
I'm going over. So.
All right. Ravens at 11. I think I'm gonna. I wish it was 11.5, and I'd say under, but I think I have to go over because I just think they're better than a 10-7 team. But I really don't know how much I like them. More. I think they're more like an 11-6 team, but I guess they're gonna have to be 12-5 for this. I mean, they're good, but in the regular season they're obviously way better than they are in the postseason. But losing J.K. Dobbins I think hurts because are you gonna try to run Lamar more? I don't know if I do that. I mean, it's because he can get injured and then you're really screwed. But I don't think the defense is as good as it's been in years past, and they've lost. They lost. What was the guy who went to the Patriots?
Judon.
Yeah, Judon. They lost Judon. They lost a couple other guys. Is that secondary still really as good as it's been the last couple years? I don't know. So I don't know how much I really do love them, but at 11, it's a tough number. So I think I have to go over. But again, I'm not super confident in that.
I'm gonna go over as well. I think they're a 12-win team, but I agree with everything you said, and I don't feel like I need to rehash it. And I agree on the secondary thing. I think Marlon Humphrey might be overrated.
Yeah.
And last is the Chiefs at 12.5.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone over the last like 5 teams, but I mean,
You went under on a lot of teams.
I did go under on a lot of teams early, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's the Chiefs. It's kind of hard not to go over on it. You said 12.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't see them losing more than 4 games this year. And obviously, again, they're playing first place schedule, whatever. They've done it the last couple of years anyways. It doesn't matter. Will they be 15-2? Probably not. But yeah, if they have to go 13-4, I think it's very easy that they go 13-4.
The way this team goes under is it depends on how good the West. I don't know how good you think the West is. Like, I mean, what are they going to go in their division? What would you pick for them to go in their division?
I mean, at worst 4-2, but honestly 5-1. Like, they may lose like a crazy game to like the Raiders or something, like they did last year, like where they lost a crazy game to the Raiders. Like that, I could see it happening, but honestly, I don't really see it happening.
I'm gonna go over 2. I mean, the only reason that I would go under is because I'm scared of injury, like any team really. But it's huge with the Chiefs because if Mahomes is injured, I just like. I mean, is the backup still Chad Henne right now?
I don't know for sure, but probably.
Probably. I don't know. I'll go over. I mean, this is probably the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, I think so too. But I mean, if Mahomes gets injured,
they could still go 13-4 even if Mahomes is injured for like 5 games. I mean, that's like pretty much what they did last year. So.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, I don't know. They're really good. I mean, that's basically.
I'm going over. Is this team like by far? I don't know. I mean, I think this team's better than the Buccaneers right now. Will that be the case in 17 weeks from now? Maybe not, but...
Yeah, maybe not. But, honestly, the way they don't go over, if it's not injury, it's because they just lose the last game of the season because they're resting. And maybe they're 13-3, or they're 12-4? No, they'll be 12-4 at that point.
Yeah.
And then they just, rest and then they lose. I mean, that's honestly, the only way they really do if it's not injuries.
Yeah, this team's really good, and even though the West should be better, like the West doesn't have any god awful teams. Like the North has the Bengals, and the East has the Jets,
and it doesn't have a good enough second team like the Browns, Ravens, where it's like that team can beat you like if they wanted to, and they don't really have, like the Chargers or the Broncos, like they have to get kind of lucky to beat the Chiefs, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I think the Chargers are the closest team to being able to do that, but they're still not close enough yet.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. Like, Herbert, it really depends on Herbert. I mean, will Herbert have a better year this year than he had last year? I don't know. I mean, because out of the 32 quarterbacks, how good was he last year? I don't know. I don't know how good he was.
I mean, based on, just stats and stuff?
I mean, how good would you have ranked him? If we're ranking just the regular season, where would you have him on a scale of, 1 to 32? Obviously, you can't give him, a specific number because we're not looking at all the numbers right now, but in, a range. I'd probably have him in that, 12 range.
I was going to say probably top 12 and maybe even 10. I have to look at the other quarterbacks, but I think he's probably between 10 and 12 last year.
I wonder if he's going to have a better year this year because I think there are people that have sophomore slump is a thing.
And look, there's going to be tape on him and stuff, and I think maybe the stats won't be as amazing as it was. I think he threw 30 plus touchdowns last year, but I think he'll just have a really good year. And they'll be better than they were last year, but again, they're not good enough to be the clear number 2 in that division. Where they're 10 plus wins and they're easily making a playoff spot. I guess 11 plus wins is now the norm is the extra game.
So based off this, I'm wondering who we have as our playoff teams in the East. It would be the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens,
the Browns. So that's 4, and then 2 wild card teams. Assuming, two of them.
Chiefs, Ravens.
2 of them are in
Bills,
the same division, but I'm saying
Colts. You have the Colts over the Titans, or?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, so that would be our first 4 seed,
and then
probably.
and then Ravens/Browns in the wild card, wherever the other wasn't.
And then
it's rather the Chargers, the Titans,
Patriots,
or the Patriots. Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. Well, I went over. Technically, I never said the Bills would win this division, so. Didn't I say the Patriots would win the division in a podcast episode?
I think you may have, but I don't know. I mean, if you put the Bills over 11, that means they're 12, and you put the Patriots over at 9.5, which means they have to win 2 extra games and get the tiebreaker, or just win 3 more games.
Realistically, I think the Bills are an 11-win team, so I have the Patriots. I think the Patriots can win 12 games.
Okay.
I think it could happen. I mean, regardless of just in terms of my playoff picture, I would have the Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, Patriots, Chargers, Colts, and I need one more team in there. It'd be the Browns, probably.
All right.
So I'd have the Dolphins missing out. I would have the Titans missing out. That's not official. I mean, I will put an official thing out, like, before the regular season starts, and I'll make it, like, clearly official. But yeah, that's probably my 7 teams.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps up doing that. So we have the NFC and AFC done. I guess I guess technically we didn't do like a playoff bracket or Super Bowl pick, but we could do that probably right before the season starts, or maybe after like first week or whatever. But yeah, the first game is in a week and 1 day from when we're recording this. That'll be the first game of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll put out something official at some point early in the regular season, if not before the regular season starts.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. Appreciate everybody who's still here, watch the full episode. Excited to be back in the podcast studio. We at some point will be back on the Quinnipiac radio as well. We'll probably talk about that like briefly and all that. But social media's in the description. Feel free to check out the NFC episode if you didn't in the description. Goodbye.